Do you know what onomatopoeia is? It is the imitation of sound through a word or a written expression, terms that echo the noises of things as we perceive them in reality. Tap for the sound of knocking, chirp for the song of birds, buzz for the hum of an, boom for a resounding explosion, and so forth. Water, without question, possesses an abundant share of such expressions. Flowing water murmurs. Gentle waves lull with a soft susurration. Powerful breakers roar with a deep, resonant surge. There are countless words that seem woven into the very fabric of human language, perhaps hinting at a profound and intrinsic bond between sound and water, a suggestion that surely gestures towards something of greater significance. Many in our own era have explored the relationship between sound and water. Among them was the Japanese researcher Masaru Emoto, who investigated the influence of sound upon the molecular structure of water. Through a series of experiments, he claimed to demonstrate that water responds to words and emotions. Emoto froze samples of water after exposing them to various sounds or expressions, such as Quranic recitation, prayer, or music, and observed variations in the crystalline formations that emerged, depending upon the nature of the stimulus. From this, he concluded that water possesses a kind of memory, capable of being influenced positively or negatively by its surroundings, and that such influence is reflected in human health and society, given that the human body itself consists largely of water. There were also those who engaged with what is known as cymatics, the study of the shapes and patterns formed by substances such as sand, salt, or water when subjected to sound vibrations of specific frequencies. It is likewise worth mentioning Peter Davy, the saxophonist who devised an apparatus said to bring water to a boil through the application of sound waves. More recently, biologists have reported that ultrasonic water treatments may combat some of the most resistant infections and accelerate wound healing with remarkable speed. In a world where electromagnetism was employed with the utmost mastery, water, sound, and frequency would inevitably have occupied a central role. And it was the intention of our ancestors that we, too, should come to understand this. Yet they did not mean only the water upon the earth. Rather, they were alluding to the waters above us to make us understand that what they achieved would not have been possible had they not studied the water that exists in the heights. But is there water above? In the opening of the book of Genesis, it is written, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was formless and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light. And God said, 'Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters.' Thus God made the firmament and separated the waters beneath the firmament from the waters above the firmament. And it was so." Although some have criticized the King James translation of the Bible for its use of the word firmament, the original Hebrew term rakia conveys directly the notion of an expanse or vault. In the New International Version, it is rendered as vault, in the English Standard Version as expanse, and in the Good News Translation as dome. What matters is that all these translations, together with the original Hebrew, converge upon the same essential idea, a division between the waters above the dome and the waters beneath it. It is also worth noting that numerous verses in the Noble Quran allude to the same meaning. Among them, by way of example rather than limitation, have those who disbelieved not considered that the heavens and the earth were once a joined entity, and we separated them. Then he turned to the heaven while it was smoke, and we made the sky a protected canopy. Many other verses describe the reality of the earth and the heavens with striking clarity, yet we close our eyes, as though we insist upon not seeing, even in spite of what telescopes appear to show us. The telescope is indeed a most fascinating instrument, at once a means of discovery and a weapon of misdirection. There are two principal categories of telescopes. The first is the refracting telescope, which operates by means of an objective lens, typically convex in form. The second is the reflecting telescope, which relies upon a mirror or an arrangement of concave or parabolic mirrors, positioned in a specific configuration to reflect light and form an image. Consider, for example, an image of the planet Jupiter as seen through a Newtonian reflecting telescope. When you look at such an image, your mind immediately interprets it as a planet. This is because you have been conditioned since birth to associate an image of this kind with the concept of a planet, just as you associate the moon with a rocky mass suspended in space. Despite the slight distortion of spherical form resulting from reflective mirrors, this image bears no resemblance whatsoever to what NASA presents to us. Observe how Jupiter appears through a refracting telescope and a reflecting telescope, and compare this with how it appears through the lens of a Nikon P900 camera. As you can see, both refracting and reflecting telescopes produce images similar to those captured by the Nikon P900 lens. Although some have criticized Nikon lenses for lacking sufficient power to observe distant celestial bodies, the comparison reveals that the difference between them in either type of telescope is not substantial. Moreover, many astronomers, both amateur and professional, display recordings of a comparable nature. However, they employ image processing software to transform their raw footage, which typically shows a luminous circular body radiating its own light in the sky, into a planetary form resembling NASA's polished imagery. Thus, these edited images are not what we actually perceive with our own eyes through lenses. I am not asserting that this constitutes deliberate falsification. Astronomy is a genuine and established science in its own right. Nevertheless, it is of paramount importance that we do not conflate processed images with reality. We must also remain cautious of those who engage in intentional manipulation, often among astronomers who receive paid sponsorships from magazines and online platforms. Therefore, what we call planets are not, in essence, planets in the sense the term suggests. Rather, they are wandering or traveling stars. All of these wandering stars share the same essential nature as the moon. Unlike the other stars that rise above the dome, they do not travel in fixed and harmonious trajectories. Rather, they deviate from the central circles along which the other stars revolve around the North Star, Polaris, because they are not situated within the waters above the firmament but are of an entirely different order. Their function and significance for life on Earth are far greater than we might imagine. Naturally, we must return later to discuss the true nature of what are called the planets and the moon. For now, let us remain focused on water. The star Arcturus, in the constellation of Ursa Major, is among the brightest stars in the sky. This is the artistic rendering published by Science magazine. Yet this is Arcturus as seen through a refracting telescope, and it is abundantly clear that there is no resemblance between the two images. What we observe through such a telescope closely resembles what appears when stars are magnified using a high-zoom Nikon camera lens. It should be noted that refracting telescopes are often criticized for producing what is known as chromatic aberration, the failure of a lens to focus all colors at a single point, resulting in a visible violet halo, an effect that also appears in certain photographs. Remarkably, however, the Nikon camera does not produce this form of chromatic aberration when zooming in on Arcturus. Thus, one might argue that Nikon offers greater precision and visual stability. In any case, through both lenses, the telescope and the Nikon camera, Arcturus appears pulsating and undulating, as though it were a kind of dancing geometry. Of course, many will hasten to claim that this effect arises from atmospheric distortion or light pollution. Yet if the cause of this shimmering were truly the atmosphere, why do other stars display distinct geometric forms and unique luminous patterns, each differing from the other? If atmospheric distortion were responsible, all such aberrations would manifest in a single, consistent, and uniform pattern. This undulation does not occur because of atmospheric distortion. Rather, it is because the stars are, in truth, pockets of sonoluminescent light fixed within the upper waters, self-illuminating and radiating their light and frequencies across the ocean of the sky. This phenomenon is known as the sonoluminescent effect, and it stands among the most fascinating natural occurrences in modern physics, for it transforms acoustic energy into visible light within water. When a vessel is filled with water and a gas such as argon or air is introduced, tiny bubbles, or sometimes a multitude of them, form. By employing a high-frequency sonic generator to transmit ultrasonic waves through the water, these sound waves create alternating low-pressure regions, causing the bubbles to expand rapidly, and high-pressure regions, prompting their abrupt collapse. This cycle of expansion and implosion occurs at rates reaching millions of times per second. During the sudden collapse, the walls of the bubble compress the gas within with immense force, resulting in a dramatic rise in temperature and an extraordinary surge in internal pressure, which in turn converts a portion of the mechanical and acoustic energy into luminous energy. A concentrated flash of light emerges from the center of the bubble. Our eyes testify unmistakably to the existence of a form of water above us. We perceive its reflections upon the stars and observe it as rockets, by inadvertence, collide with the celestial dome. As I previously stated, the spherical appearance of planets, wandering stars, and the moon does not necessarily reflect their true nature. They are not akin to the stars suspended within the upper waters, but are entirely distinct entities or phenomena. Our technologically advanced ancestors sought for us to observe the stars. They intended for us to comprehend that electromagnetic vibrations and oscillations generate pockets of sonic light within the celestial waters. They indicated this to reveal that water is the essential key to unlocking the latent potential of electromagnetic energy. They wished for us to understand that once this etheric electromagnetic energy is harnessed, it can be merged with water, enabling its storage, distribution, manipulation, and development, elevating it to an entirely new level of potential through the use of vibration, frequency, and sound itself. Their civilization was fundamentally founded upon the art of producing what we might aptly call living water. Their technological advancement empowered them to transform the entire Earth into a vast network of energy. Yet this network could not have existed without water. The civilization of the future, therefore, was a hydroelectromagnetic civilization. All of the canals constructed before the 1920s were neither built by our hands nor by the individuals chronicled in historical texts. Rather, they were inherited. For instance, the official narrative tells us that the Volga-Don Canal was completed in the 1950s, although its actual construction commenced in the 16th century. Similarly, every account pertaining to the construction of these canals is entirely fabricated, a fact I shall demonstrate in due course. In the ancient world, the inhabitants utilized oceans and rivers to establish a network of interconnected waterways, ensuring the distribution of water to all inhabited regions and facilitating passage through difficult terrains. They sometimes erected aqueducts and bridges with explicit purpose of enhancing the flow of water as it passed through these structures. Hence, many were designed with symmetrical, arched frameworks. Water was stored and managed for a multitude of purposes within reservoirs, water towers, pumping stations, and other structures. It also served an essential balancing function. A complex network of electromagnetic production, distribution, and consumption generates considerable heat, and water provided a counterbalance to this magnetic energy, preventing the overall system from overheating. Upon examining the exquisite generators and powerful instruments left behind by the ancient world, one invariably finds water in close proximity, whether visible in reservoirs or hidden beneath the earth, testifying to its central role in their engineering and energy management. Many may be unaware that numerous systems and reservoirs sometimes extend for great distances beneath our cities. At other times, water occupied a central role within these structures, as exemplified by what the controllers later described as the moats of palaces. Yet the hydroelectromagnetic water network was far more than a mere replication of the familiar systems within our towns and villages. It was vastly greater, more magnificent, more awe-inspiring, and technologically advanced beyond the scope of our imagination. This network was intricately connected to central power stations, which might be more precisely described as stellar stations. These were colossal facilities, some isolated, while others constituted entire cities. To comprehend the scale of these stations, one must rise to great heights. Hold on tightly and open your eyes wide, and observe what remains of the global energy network that was always surrounded by water. Most of it was destroyed by the controllers, who, in order to conceal its traces, drained the water surrounding these stellar stations scattered across our world, from Europe to the Americas and even to Asia and Africa, in geometric arrangements surpassing imagination. The mere existence of these stellar structures, let alone their construction, defies our full comprehension. The ancients may have possessed a type of technology that enabled them to perceive vast expanses from above during the planning and building phases. The extraordinary engineering precision and astonishing symmetry of these stellar stations suggest that they function to enhance generator energy, preserve the ether within the water, or transform this water into living, vibrant, and energetic water. By comparing some of these ruined sites with those that still retain remnants of their structure, it becomes evident that water was present throughout all components of these stellar constructions. Before the controllers destroyed and emptied most of them, these facilities were full and interconnected with rivers, canals, and oceans, forming a fundamental element within the entire energy network. They embody symmetrical architectural modules, geometric forms distinct from other structures due to the way they cascade, much like the repeating vaults in immense energy generators. As with the cavities of magnetic resonators and oscillators, the sharp, inclined, and symmetrical walls induced a continuous vibration in the ions, sustaining a perpetual oscillation throughout the structure. Ancient plans and illustrative diagrams, undoubtedly subject to some degree of modification or distortion, reveal the profound complexity and vital integration of stellar engineering within the entire network. Observe Paris. At first glance, the significance may not appear evident, yet upon closer scrutiny, one discerns that Paris, in its entirety, functioned as a stellar station or even a stellar city. Like all constructions of the ancient world, these edifices fulfilled practical purposes while simultaneously honoring the source that inspired their creation. Examine closely the architecture of these stellar stations. Does their form evoke any familiar pattern? Indeed, it resembles a snowflake. As in Masaru Emoto's experiments, etheric vibrations express themselves through the molecular structure of water. The ancients mastered this knowledge to a remarkable degree, understanding that the key to releasing electromagnetic energy resided in sound and water. Thus, these structures themselves became instruments of energy. As Johann Goethe eloquently expressed, "Music is liquid architecture, and architecture is frozen music." Imagine the accomplishments possible when sound, vibration, resonance, and water constituted the pinnacle of their scientific understanding. The ancients' reverence for sound was evident everywhere, leaving its traces throughout their constructions. Upon meticulous examination of these ancient structures, one finds numerous generators, capacitors, energy stations, and intermediate conduits featuring apertures, triangular facades, serrated edges, cavities, and intricate three-dimensional ornaments. These architectural openings were employed to control sound waves and vibrations, finely tuning electromagnetic energy in harmony with water to achieve diverse effects. These edifices functioned akin to wind instruments, flutes, pipes, and trumpets, manipulating energy with precision and resonance. The ancient world celebrated stellar geometry, for through contemplation of the stars reflected in the upper waters, they discerned the power of integrating electromagnetic forces, vibration, and resonance with water itself. All elements operated in perfect harmony and coherence, and this vital interconnection rendered the stars, and indeed life itself, possible. Cast your gaze closely upon the dancing architecture of those stars shimmering with sound behind the celestial dome. Does it not evoke yet another image? Indeed, precisely so. All the magnetic facades we now refer to as rose windows were designed to mirror the symmetrical patterns of etheric vibrations within the water. Still struggling to perceive the full image? Then let us delve even deeper into this extraordinary phenomenon.